Precious Father in heaven, we come to you again. We thank you for a beautiful day, this cool, fresh air. Lord, be with us now as we have a discussion about alternative energy and other resources. Father, we pray that you bless us, each and every one, that we find the knowledge that we need. And Lord, help that I portray you and that I can share the knowledge that I have, which is a little, but Lord, help it to be clear and understood. We ask it all in your precious name. Amen. Okay. Put my toboggan back on. All right. My disclaimer is I know enough to be dangerous. Does anyone here, what knowledge do we have of solar?
That it powers your house.
That it powers your house. Okay.
On the side.
Okay.
Well, I don't understand this because we have people that come to our house all the time trying to sell solar panels, but I've talked to other people and they said it's not worth it. Why would it not be worth it to have solar panel? I mean, why would they say that? They say something about the energy goes right back to the grid anyway, so you're not really.
Well, if you're grid tie, with a grid tie, what happens is that your home's demand, it should give that first. It reacts a little faster than the grid does when there's a demand in your home, and it supplies the energy. But then when that demand goes away, or any excess energy is being pushed back into the grid. Now, no longer in this part of the country, in this area, and I don't know of any federal programs. There may be some things, but I don't know of anything. The buyback programs. The buyback programs were great. The ones here in the Tennessee Valley and around the southeast were they bought energy from you at 10 cents per kilowatt hour, but they only charge you, it was like 9 3/4 cents a kilowatt hour. So it was a win-win. Over the long term, you could actually make money on those. What a lot of folks did is they purchased contracts. They got contracts while they were available, and then they just put in systems and sold power back. A lot of them, they would lease a field. They wouldn't even hook it to their home. They would just tie it to the grid and sell power. But now that's kind of gone by the wayside. Now, they do have net metering available in most areas, not all. A lot of cases, there's a lot of restrictions that goes on it. And net metering will allow you, say we determine what you're consuming, and we build a system to supply that need. And what happens, any excess energy goes back to the grid and they get it for free. It goes back into the grid and your neighbor gets to use it or whatever, and they get to sell it. You don't get anything out of it. So you can cancel your utility bill.
So Rick, when you tie to the grid, they don't allow you to store the energy, right?
There's ways that you can do a hybrid, that's a hybrid inverter that is a battery base and a grid tie inverter as well. But you have to put transfer switches and all that stuff in. It is possible. Some areas won't allow it, but most will. But it gets into a lot of extra expense. It's really not, I don't consider it to be worth it. But the next guy that you talk to does. So it's at your discretion what you determine. Personally, I believe off-grid is the way to go. Completely break tie with the grid system.
Maybe that's what she's saying about it's not worth it because of the expense on it.
Yeah, the inverters are more expensive, inverters and stuff, equipment is pricey. But grid, if you're totally off grid, if you go into a grid down situation, see, if you're not a battery base grid tie, if the grid goes down, you're down. You can't make power either. So if you got a battery base hybrid system that you can do that, then you can still have power. You have to transfer over and all that. Quite honestly, the best way to go about it is just go off grid. And with an off grid system, you've got your own battery bank, you got your own storage, your own power supply. But then in a grid down situation, you don't even realize it. You know, you still have your power. I guess we've kind of put the cart before the horse a little bit here with the way we started off. Let's back up to who here, I know you folks you've got interest in it, but you know, price is the situation, which is usually always is. It's ours. It's why we have an underpowered system. Where you live now, what's your monthly utility bill?
150 to 200.
Okay, that's a 1.5 to or 15 to a 20 kW system. A 20, I would gear it towards the 20 kW system. The 20 kW system, you're looking in the $28,000 to $30,000 range with a battery backup. Basically, for every $100 a month, you're looking at 10 kilowatts of system that you need, 10 kW. A good way.
Yeah, but they have to keep in mind, they have to lower everything, start to just use minimal.
Well, you've got to.
Still working and we're working via internet, we have to do that. So we have to take that into consideration until we cannot work it.
There's ways of going on a energy diet, and everybody needs to come to that. We all need, every household, every home. There's ways that we can go on the energy diet. We can, like, okay, for instance, y'all work from home. Do you are you using desktop computers? You using laptops?
Laptops, yeah.
Okay, very efficient. It's still possible to do so. Internet, a router, and everything, you're looking at about 60 watts an hour. It's not huge, but it is a source.
But that would be per laptop? No, that would.
Well, no, that'd just be your internet, say your router and everything. It's usually 40 to 60, 70 watts. And then another thing you can do, which is something, Wi-Fi signals going back and forth through the home, you need to isolate those to one part of the house. This is not to do with solar, but with health. You also, when you're finished with that at night and stuff, you should shut all these signals down. So you're not using that power during the night hours. You just get up in the morning and fire it up before you're 30 minutes, before you're ready, let it do its thing and get back online. And if you're using desktop computers, you can always, switch over to laptops and save a lot of energy. And most of your desktops are not horrible, but they run as much as a refrigerator when they're working hard, when they're doing some work. But they're up and down. But a laptop is just consistent. You're just using minimal voltage to recharge and stuff. Has anyone ever seen one of these? That's a kilowatt meter. Home Depot sells them. They're usually in the ceiling fan area on an end cap, but Harbor Freight started carrying these a few years back. They're $30. They're probably 35 or 40 now, but every house needs one of these. Yeah. If you're going to be on solar, you're planning for solar, you need one of these. Everything you own, plug it in. You can test. This thing will tell you the watts, the volts, the amps. I'll just show you. Leave that there. let's see, where is the end of this? Oh, you're using that cord.
So you can use the lamp over there.
Well, you use the,
That only works on an outlet, you can't put it like on a main switch or something like that?
I'll show you something else in a minute.
Face it this way, please.
Do what?
Can you face that this way, please, so I can take a picture? Thank you,
Kilowatt meter.
thank you.
Here we go. Okay. This is as simple as plug it in. You plug it in. Now we're going to connect this light. And you'll see this light, this LED light probably isn't going to draw much. Okay. Sorry. Now I've got, oh, did I lose that? I'm dragging it around. Okay, as soon as I plug it in, it tells me I've got 123 volts. Now, okay, now it's got this. These are really simple. The ones from Harbor Freight actually has the watt. It's only drawing 38 watts. That's pretty amazing what they've done with LED technology, different technology. Yes.
We need to translate. There's people there who don't speak English. So.
Okay, is there someone here that doesn't speak English?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you need to paste as we translate. So give me a chance to explain to them
Okay.
how much we get over here. Rick estaba explicando que cuando queremos utilizar paneles solares deberíamos invertir en ese aparatito que se llama un medidor de bateaje. ¿Qué es lo que hace eso? Es que uno puede conectar en el enchufe normal y cualquier aparato eléctrico que tengamos como refrigeradora, televisión o lo que sea, computadora, conectarlo a eso. Entonces eso nos va a dar una translation and everything. Oh my goodness.
Oh, yes.
I feel important today.
Okay.
You're always.
Entonces, eso nos va a dar una lectura de la cantidad de vatios que el aparato está consumiendo y de esa manera vamos a poder calcular cuánta energía vamos a necesitar para saber cuántos paneles solares debemos utilizar. ¿Entendieron?
Okay. Everyone needs to own one of these. You can go, and a notebook and a pen, you can go through your home. You can plug the refrigerator in, you can plug in all your different appliances. And I recommend you do this if you're going to be on solar. Know the power that you're consuming. Know what you're doing.
Entonces, como habíamos dicho, es un aparato que se debe tener y con una libretita vamos anotando cada aparato que conectamos para ver cuánto consume y de esa manera hacer un cálculo de los paneles solares.
You can record these now like a refrigerator or a freezer or something like that, or a 110 air conditioner. You want to plug it in and you want to watch it. And this will also, you can set it up to record. It will record for 24 hours. You can even calculate you can even go into the memory of this thing and you can put your price per watt in your area.
Look,
And it'll,
what is pros per watt?
your price per watt, per kilowatt. You can program it and it'll even tell you how much money you're spending.
Entonces
For that appliance.
este aparato lo que nos permite es que conectamos cualquier cosa como la nevera, el freezer, el aire acondicionado y eso nos va a dar una lectura de lo que está consumiendo e inclusive puede grabar por 24 horas y uno puede hacer los cálculos e inclusive puede uno calcular más o menos la cantidad de dinero que está gastando en ese aparato en consumo. Este aparato vale más o menos unos $40, lo puede conseguir en Home Depot o Harbor Freight, que es otro almacén donde venden aparatos.
Now, for what you're wanting to find out for solar, you don't have to program it. You don't have to do any of that. Just know the wattages of the items that you're using, because watts is ultimately that's what we want to know in solar.
Cuando estamos hablando de que queremos poner un sistema solar, uno no necesita estar grabando más o menos los consumos, simplemente saber cuánto consume y hacer nuestro cálculo de esa forma.
Now you asked the question about larger items.
Preguntaron por ahí acerca de los aparatos que consumen mucho más.
If you get you a good meter, and everyone, if you're going to fool with solar, now if you're ladies or if you're wanting a solar system, you do need this little meter that I told you, the kilowatt meter. We'll figure out your consumption, build your system. Now, if you're not going to be the one building it and dealing with it, you won't have to worry about all this.
Si ustedes,
But if you choose, get you a good meter, one that you can insert this. Say, I can put this onto a cable. I can switch it on, and I can go in. I can slip this up over, and there's plenty of YouTube videos to show you. And you can read the same thing that this reads. You can get the actual amps, because a lot of times. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You need to pause.
Yeah,
Sí, para ustedes, damas, si ustedes no van a ser las que instalen el sistema, realmente no es muy imperativo que tengan eso, pero sí sería bueno que tengan el primer aparatito que les dice más o menos cuánto consumen para que tengan una idea. Pero si quieren conseguir un medidor realmente bueno, es el color mostazo amarillo que tenía él, y ese aparato es más efectivo, y hay muchos videos en YouTube que muestran cómo utilizarlo. Pero si alguien más va a instalar el sistema por ustedes, realmente no deben preocuparse mucho por eso, pero el primero sí, porque ustedes tienen que tener una idea de cuántos vatios van a necesitar para cuando les hagan el cálculo.
Both those devices are the same thing?
No, this is only works on 110. This will work on anything up to 1,000 volts.
Ella preguntó que si los dos aparatos son los mismos, y entonces le está explicando que no, que el blanco trabaja en 120 voltios, pero el otro puede trabajar hasta 1000 voltios.
No, they're both AC. This reads AC and DC. This only reads AC. I've owned this one. I've owned this one for about 4 years, and I paid a little under $200 for it.
Compré ese aparato hace como 2 años, pagué como $200 más o menos.
That's a high-end one, though.
This is a high end.
You can get one for $50 at Home Depot. That
Yeah.
pretty much do what you need.
Yeah. This is a Fluke meter. This is a Fluke brand. It's just an electrical meter. I can read ohms. I can read amps, volts.
Esa es una marca buena, es un Fluke, y puede medir muchas cosas, además de voltaje, puede medir voltaje AC, DC, ohmios, corriente, y poco de cosas. Es buena calidad.
I do not suggest going to Harbor Freight and buying this meter.
Y no sugiero que vayan al almacén barato Harbor
This
Freight
one,
a comprar
yes.
eso, pero el de acá,
This
el blanco,
one, no.
sí.
Get a good meter. I mean, for $60-$70, you can get a respectable meter. Now you can get a cheaper one. This is the T5 1000, because I get into some high voltage. I get into 1,000-volt strings sometimes of solar. You can get a 600-volt model of this that's, I think, $100 or a little under $100. Looks just like it, does the same job, except for it's only 500 volts.
Yo pagué 200 y algo dólares por ese, porque ese es capaz de medir voltajes más altos, y puede conseguir más baratos en la tienda, hasta por $60-$70, pero no tienen el alcance que tiene ese allá. Yo lo utilizo porque tengo que hacer instalaciones hasta de 1000 voltios a veces.
I just wanted to add something. If you get the yellow meter, you have to do a little bit of math to figure out how many kilowatts you
Yeah.
have, whereas the other one is very simple.
It's simple. And we're coming to that as well. If you don't have this meter and you got an AC unit that you would like to know, or a heat and air, a heat pump or something that you want to figure out, you can go to the label on it. There's a label. A refrigerator has a label. Your hair dryer will have a little label or some kind of an imprint on it, and it'll say 120 V or 120 volts at 15 amps or at 6.5 amps or 3.2 amps at 60 hertz, 50 hertz, low frequency. But anyway, you can take the volts by the amps and come up with your with your rough wattage, but those are not you're going on the heavy side, because just for instance, refrigerators. LG claims to be the most efficient refrigerator on the market, the inverter model. I bought one of them and put it in the church building over there.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
A lot of information in once. Lo que decía él es
Testing
que you'll be surprised how good I am. Lo que él estaba preguntando es que, o le estaba diciendo que con el medidor el amarillo, uno tiene que hacer cálculos. Es más fácil con el otro porque ya ese le calcula automáticamente lo que es. Pero con el otro uno tiene que hacer cálculos. Rick estaba diciendo que también uno puede ir a los labels, a las etiquetas que ponen en los aparatos, y muchos de ellos tienen la información ahí que le dicen, por ejemplo, trabaja a 120 voltios, consume tanta corriente, por ejemplo, 4, 5, 6, 10 amperios, depende del aparato. La frecuencia que trabaja, por ejemplo, por general son 60 hercios, que es lo que funcionamos en Estados Unidos. Y estaba tratando de explicar acerca de que ciertos aparatos consumen más que otros. Por ejemplo, una refrigeradora que tiene una LG ahí adentro. Go.
No,
Okay.
Multiplicas los voltios
Oh, sí.
por los amperajes y eso te da los kilowatts, los watts.
Los watts, pero
Watts es 1000 watts.
implica que tiene que hacer uno los cálculos.
Es corriente por el otro ya te multiplica y te dice cuánto estás directamente. Y el propósito de todo esto es sumar todos los watts que uno usa en la casa para ciertos aparatos, para saber qué grande tiene que ser el sistema para instalar.
So, just the refrigerator thing, the LG claims to be the most efficient. I bought one of them, and it was the label on it says that it's 120 volts at 3.2 amps. Okay, if you times the voltage by the amps, that will give you your maximum wattage. That's maximum, which is over 300, less than 400, which is huge. Most refrigerators don't draw more than 150, 175 unless they are failing. And a refrigerator is one of the most rigid appliances, quite honestly. They will fail for years. The compressors will fail for a very long time. They'll be seizing, and that's why they put these labels in there, these so that they're safe. They're safe within their boundaries. But
Finish it, thought.
the refrigerator runs at about 130 watts.
Okay. La refrigeradora que yo tengo allá es una LG que se supone que dicen que es una de las más económicas en cuanto a consumo de bateaje. Pero en los labels lo que le ponen es lo más alto que puede consumir para para ellos estar protegidos en cuanto al consumo. Pero él está explicando que, por ejemplo, a medida que pasa el tiempo, las refrigeradoras son uno de los aparatos que más fácil van decayendo. Con el tiempo, el compresor va consumiendo más y más, por lo que va decayendo, no funciona ya eficientemente. Pero por lo general, si usted multiplica el voltaje, que serían 120 voltios, y por ejemplo en la etiqueta dice que consume 3.5 amperios, si usted multiplica que la fórmula es voltaje multiplicado por amperaje, más o menos le va a dar entre 300 y 400 vatios el consumo de la refrigeradora, pero eso es lo máximo que podría consumir la refrigeradora, por eso que le ponen el label ahí. Pero por lo general esa está en un consumo de unos 120, 140 vatios cuando funciona normal, cuando está bien y no está fallando ya.
So the labels can be they're kind of misleading if you're trying to figure.
Las etiquetas le dan una idea media aproximada, pero no es exactamente lo que está consumiendo, porque ellos quieren protegerse en cuanto a eso.
But now here in doing your research, I bought a Samsung refrigerator and put down at the cabin.
Pero haciendo una especie de experimento, yo compré una refrigeradora Samsung que la pusimos abajo en la cabaña.
It was scratch and dent. I was not buying a $1,700 refrigerator to put down there. So I bought it for $800.
Era una de esas que venden que ya tienen un rayón, un golpecito, entonces no pagué el precio completo. Normalmente van por los 1,500, 1,700, yo pagué 800 por ella.
So I was a little disappointed that I didn't get the LG, but I brought it home and I put it in the house and I plugged my kilowatt meter in. I plug it into the wall and it goes up to 100 watts and goes back down to like 76 watts.
Entonces
Compressor's failing. It's bad.
Estaba un poco desanimado porque no conseguí la LG, pero tan pronto la traje a la casa, la conecté ahí y la conecté al aparatito eso y me di cuenta que estaba consumiendo 100 vatios por ahí y después comenzó y bajó a 70 vatios. Básicamente me estaba indicando de que el compresor estaba fallando.
I was very disgusted. I plugged it, I checked it again, and I unplugged it. I got to haul this thing back. And I left it unplugged.
Estaba tan molesto que lo desconecté y la volví a conectar para volver a chequear otra vez, pero definitivamente dejé ya y la desconecté.
I come back in about 2 hours later and my wife's singing and she's loading that new refrigerator and I said, it don't work. She said, what are you doing? It don't work.
Cuando me di la vuelta, mi esposa estaba todo contenta llenando la refrigeradora de cosas y yo le digo, pero ¿qué estás haciendo? No trabaja, ya no trabaja, no funciona.
She said, it's cold.
Pero ella dice, está fría.
So I got my meter and I plugged it back in and left it for a little while. It runs at 76 watts.
Volví a conectarla nuevamente, pero la puse en mi medidor una vez más y estaba corriendo esta vez a 77 vatios.
Its label says 120 volts at 6.5 amps, double the LG.
Pero la etiqueta decía 120 voltios, 6.5 amperios, que básicamente doblaba el consumo de batiaje que la LG que tengo ahí.
I bought a Samsung washing machine after that.
Después de eso,
Same thing.
compré una lavadora Samsung y la misma situación.
Samsung is the most efficient stuff out there on the market and they don't even claim it.
Samsung básicamente es la más eficiente en el mercado, pero ellos no lo dicen nada. Pero Samsung estaba mucho mejor que la LG.
Broken, it was just very efficient.
And I took my meter one day. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to take a little time. I'm going to go do a little schoolwork. Because people are always asking what appliances. And I went down to Lowe's and I said, can I hook up an extension cord here and, these models? And they finally says, yeah. So I started testing stuff.
Así que fui a hacer un pequeño trabajo de escuela. Me fui a Home Depot y les pedí que si podía conectar uno de esos appliances ahí con mi aparatito y consintieron. Entonces lo hice.
Whirlpool, Kenmore, Maytag, they're the dirtiest ones on the market.
Whirlpool, Maytag y no me acuerdo la otra marca, dice que son los que más consumen en el mercado.
Samsung or LG, but Samsung is the most efficient appliance.
Samsung y LG son una de las mejores, pero Samsung parece que está mejor que la LG.
I had just right over here had a friend. I built him a solar system. It was he complained a little, and he just kept complaining more and more that the solar system wasn't working right. Something's wrong.
Entonces yo tengo un amigo que le instalé el sistema solar aquí y él estaba quejándose de que algo estaba malo con el sistema solar porque parece que el consumo se le estaba yendo demasiado.
And so I went over and looked at the charge controller. It's recording. I said, you made 15 kilowatts today.
Entonces fui y chequeé el aparatito que mide el consumo y me di cuenta de que había consumido 1,500 vatios en ese día nada más.
Well, we wasn't even home. I said,
y ni siquiera estaban en la casa.
You made 15 kilowatts. The system done it actually done more than what it was supposed to do because it's a small system.
Y le expliqué que el sistema estaba trabajando por el contrario demasiado bien, que estaba haciendo hasta más de lo que supuestamente tenía que estar.
I said, I want to test your refrigerator.
Entonces le dije, déjame probar tu refrigeradora.
He said, no, there's nothing wrong with it.
Y él dice, no, mi refrigeradora no está mal, está bien.
That thing freezes good, it works good. It's an old one. It's 20,
dice, la
25
refrigeradora
years
es viejita, pero congela bien y enfría bien. Yo no tengo problema con ella, dijo
old. I
él.
plugged this little box in.
Hasta que conecté el aparatito en la refrigeradora.
Plugged it back in and it dimmed the lights for a second. It didn't want to restart, so I had to leave it unplugged about 30 minutes and then went back and plugged it in. It came on at 1,500 watts
Entonces,
and settled in at 700 is where it ran at.
entonces la conecté nuevamente y las luces se bajaron bastante al principio y no quiso correr, tuve que dejarle desconectado un buen rato y cuando lo conecté nuevamente, para sorpresa, estaba consumiendo 1500 vatios y después de que ya se estabilizó bajó a 700 vatios, que es demasiado.
But that Samsung played at 6 amps and 120 volts. Its label says that's 700 watts.
No, the Samsung was only 76 watts.
I know, but
Yeah.
the label max
Oh, yeah.
is 700.
Yeah, 700 watts. Yeah, it's way up there.
La Samsung que estábamos hablando hace un rato, si usted hace el cálculo de lo que dice en la etiqueta, multiplicando el voltaje por el amperaje, más o menos debería estar consumiendo como 700 vatios, pero eso es porque le ponen el máximo que podría consumir ese aparato, pero en realidad esa refrigeradora Samsung está corriendo a 70 vatios. Pero el label dice más o menos un cálculo de unos 600, 700 vatios.
So this failing refrigerator worked perfect. Didn't make any special noises or nothing. It works perfect, but it's drawing 700 watts.
So, esta refrigeradora que estamos hablando del amigo funciona bien, enfría bien, no hace ruido, nada de eso. Y aparentemente funciona bien, pero el problema es que estaba consumiendo demasiado vatiaje.
And I have tested 2 bad refrigerators and 1 bad freezer and 1 bad air conditioner in my few years of fooling with solar. And I learned something.
Y en mi tiempo que estoy trabajando en sistemas solares, yo he probado algunas refrigeradoras y aires acondicionados y aprendí algo.
Now, all of y'all are not, you're not from maybe around the South or anything, but my father, and I've heard other old timers say that utility company is ripping me off. My bill it's always been $100 a month, and for the past 2 years it's been climbing. It's 115, now it's 120. They're ripping me off. I don't do anything different.
So, yo no sé ustedes, pero por ejemplo, un ejemplo de mi papá y otros amigos de él siempre se quejaban de que la compañía eléctrica les estaba robando porque antes pagaban cierta cantidad de dinero y de pronto el recibo venía incrementándose en precio y ellos no entendían por qué, estaban muy enojados porque pensaban que la compañía les estaba robando.
And I remember my dad one time. It's kind of funny when I think back. He's dead and gone now, but he bought a new refrigerator.
Y yo recuerdo a mi padre, es un poco gracioso ahora que lo pienso, pero él compró una refrigeradora nueva.
And then I remember him saying the next month, I wonder why the light bill went down.
Y recuerdo que él decía, no entiendo por qué el recibo bajó esta vez.
30 years later, I know why.
30 años después me di cuenta por qué.
They thought that the utility company had a conspiracy against their pocketbook.
Entonces pensó que la compañía de
Failing
electricidad
compressor.
estaba conspirando en contra de su bolsillo.
As the appliances get older,
Yeah. Well, and as anything electronic, compressors, pumps, anything that has a fan motor, okay, those require cleaning and oiling, and a lot of folks don't know that. Blowers, squirrel cage blowers and stuff, and heat and air units and different things. As they age and as they wear, they draw higher and higher amperage.
Una cosa que la gente no se da cuenta es que
They don't get less, they go more.
aparatos que tienen compresores o ventiladores como los blowers, todas esas cosas,
Because there's more
a
friction.
medida que van envejeciendo van consumiendo más energía porque funcionan y trabajan con fricción. Y entonces como envejecen, eso va haciendo que consuma un poco más de lo que normalmente consumía al principio, básicamente.
I have a brother right now that he inherited the solar system. He bought the property.
Tengo un hermano que compró una propiedad que tenía ya un sistema solar.
And this is actually the same system that the refrigerator was on.
Básicamente el mismo sistema que la refrigeradora estaba conectada.
He got the new refrigerator in the house deal.
Pero se quedó con una refrigeradora nueva que estaba en la casa.
He's been in the property 2.5 years. The system has never gave him any trouble.
2 años y medio viviendo en la casa y el sistema no le había dado problemas.
And I was over to his property about 8 months ago,
8 meses atrás estuve en su propiedad
and they were cut a new pad, graveled it out in front of the house, right beside the solar system.
y habían hecho un camino y pusieron las piedritas estas, pero estaba cerca del sistema solar que tenían ahí en la casa.
I said, "Oh, you made your new parking area." He says, "No, I'm building a garage."
Le pregunté, están haciendo una área de parqueo nueva y le dijo el amigo, no, estamos construyendo un garaje aquí.
I said, "You need to move those solar panels or put them on the roof of the garage."
Entonces le dije, tienes que mover los paneles solares o ponerlos en el techo del garaje, ¿qué vas a hacer?
"No, it's going to be okay," he said.
Y dijo, no, está bien, va a estar bien así.
Now I got a call from him 2 weeks ago. The solar system's no good. It's junk. It's not working.
Hace 2 semanas recibí una llamada quejándose de que el sistema solar es una porquería, que no funciona.
So I went over and here's a garage roof about this size
Y entonces fui allá y me di cuenta que tenía un garaje más o menos
on the west side of the solar panel.
más o menos de este tamaño y que estaba ubicado en el lado oeste de la casa.
And I said, "The garage is casting shadows."
Y entonces le expliqué que el garaje estaba dando sombra al sistema solar.
And he went irate that I was lying.
Y entonces él estaba molesto diciendo que yo estaba mintiendo.
So we're still in the middle of this. I walked into the house and says, "Well, you only made 4.1 kilowatts today." And I looked back through the history. So you've been making about 4 kilowatts with 12 panels. I'm making 12 kilowatts with 9 panels.
So, la cantidad de kilovatios que estaba produciendo los paneles de él estaban muy bajos ya por el problema de las sombras que le estaba dando.
So I said that
producción.
solar systems typically don't just fail. They don't. They run and they run for years and
So,
years and
típicamente los sistemas solares no se deterioran tanto. Ellos corren por años y años y años y casi no hay mucho deterioro en
years.
ellos.
You will have batteries, according to what batteries you go with. You will have that situation dealing with maintenance on the batteries.
Cuando tiene, obviamente con las baterías es diferente que con los paneles solares porque las baterías sí se van degradando, depende la calidad de la batería y tiene que mantener las baterías así.
Does Tennessee offer any kind of solar program? And the other question is, what appliance pull the most energy? Washer, dryer?
So, ella está preguntando si Tennessee ofrece un programa para sistemas solares y la otra pregunta es qué aparatos son los que serían buenos que consumen menos energía.
Dryers and electric ranges, electric heat.
So, las secadoras y las cocinas y los calentadores
Fridge, no.
consumen mucho, son los que más consumen.
This is an old one.
Blow dryer draws a lot more than a refrigerator does.
Inclusive los secadores consumen mucho más que los
Curling irons.
y que las refrigeradoras, inclusive los aparatitos para hacerse los rolos
Yeah.
consumen
But you don't
bastante.
use them for long.
Pero la diferencia es que no los usa constantemente por mucho tiempo.
Yeah. Solar programs in Tennessee, no. There's none.
Aquí no hay programas de sistemas solares como en la Florida, por ejemplo. En la Florida sí hay programas. En Florida we do have they rip you up though.
Tú le traduces. En la Florida,
En Florida,
constantemente nos están llamando.
constantly they are bombarding
visitando la
us
casa
and visiting
porque
our house
creo que el
because
gobierno está
the
aprobando,
government has a program, so they say.
de programas solares para que todas
So
las casas
to the,
tengan
all
programas
the
solares.
houses do have
Es
solar
más,
panels.
Están como empujando a la gente a que
So
lo
that
tengan,
they are
diciéndole
pushing
que
people to get
este
them
es el último año
because
que el
this is the
gobierno
last
está
year the
ayudando para
government is
poner
going to help
paneles solares.
to put
¿Qué
the
tan
solar
cierto
panels.
es la ayuda del gobierno
So
y qué tan cierto es que
she's wondering how
ellos dicen
true
que
is
tú no
that
tienes
help that they say the
que
government is
pagar
offering,
nada,
and that they said you don't have to pay
y que
anything.
a los 2 meses el bill de la electricidad reduce?
That in 2 months you will see the bill of the electricity going down.
Porque mis padres les estaban empujando a poner y yo les hice cancelar eso porque yo sé
Because
que
they were
ahora
pushing
está
my father and my mother to put the
los
system, and I had
precios muy
to cancel
altos,
them
pero
because
qué tan
they were trying to
cierto
get
es
them
que
in
se
a
debe
big
poner o no
in a
se debe
big
poner con el plan del
lawn.
gobierno.
Yeah.
So she doesn't understand if the government is subsiding, what is it?
Well,
Subsidizing, yeah, but then you have to get in a loan, and a big loan, like
When-
$30,000, $40,000.
well, and here's the thing,
So aquí está la situación,
and folks,
y escuchen,
most people in this world don't care.
mucha gente en el mundo no le importa esto.
when we, as God's remnant, if you go, they don't even give you all the contract. You just sign the basics
Ellos
when you
cuando le
take
hacen
utility
esas
power,
ofertas, usted
grid power.
no ve todo el contrato, simplemente le hacen firmar las cosas básicas en el contrato.
In the nitty gritty of it,
Cuando va a los detallitos de esto,
if you buy a piece like this piece of property, this
Por
piece of
ejemplo,
property has no power on it.
si usted compra una propiedad como esta propiedad no tiene energía, básicamente.
We're totally off grid.
Básicamente estamos desconectados del sistema de la energía eléctrica.
No one has any right to come on this property if they're not invited here.
Nadie tiene el derecho de venir a esta propiedad si no son invitados.
Authorities or anything like that.
Ninguna autoridad porque
If
no estamos
you-
conectados al sistema.
If you set a power pole on this property,
Si usted pone un poste eléctrico aquí en esta propiedad,
they have rights to come to that power pole in a certain range around it.
ellos tienen el derecho
And
ya
the-
de entrar a esta propiedad, a ese poste y a cierta distancia de ese poste tienen ya el derecho de entrar a esta propiedad.
And the entire track to where it comes to. Fire, and I'm not saying anything. We're not against the authorities or anything like that around here.
Y, por ejemplo, también los camiones del Departamento de Bomberos tienen el derecho ya de entrar sin problema cuando quieran.
But it's an open invitation.
Pero básicamente nosotros no tenemos problemas con que vengan, pero es una invitación abierta que le está haciendo usted básicamente.
Any of the authorities, municipality,
Para cualquier autoridad,
the
municipalidad,
utility company itself, to come on your property.
ya ellos pueden venir por haber puesto el poste aquí.
And some utility companies now,
Y muchas compañías de utilidades ahora,
when you set a pole
cuando usted pone un poste
on your property
En su
and you
propiedad.
take power,
y consume electricidad,
and then when you decide to disconnect from the grid,
y cuando usted decide desconectarse del
penalties.
sistema, no le permiten.
yeah, there's penalties, and they're talking
Le
about not
multan.
done it. They've not done it here, just like but now what they have done here, the Fort Loudon Electric. If you opt out, for a long time, people were opting out of the new meter, the new satellite, the smart meters. Okay, they penalize you $35 a
So,
month.
por ejemplo, hay un problema que si usted ya está conectado al sistema eléctrico, pero usted dice que no quiere el nuevo medidor que es chequeado
back
por satélite,
Go back
ya pasa
home.
un tiempo y si usted no ha cambiado, le multan.
Go back home, call the utility company, and tell them you don't want their smart meter no
Si
more. You
no,
want to come
vaya,
take it out.
haga el trabajo, vaya a casa y llame a la compañía de utilidades y dígales que usted no quiere el medidor, va a ver lo que le va a
You'll
pasar.
probably make multiple phone calls and it'll wind up into a fight.
Yeah. Posiblemente pueda hacer algunas cuantas llamadas y igual le van a multar.
Because I don't know how much, I'm not going to stand here and say that I know, I don't know how much information and what they can do with that smart meter, but I do know that they can shut you down with the push of a button.
Yo no sé cuánta información pueden adquirir con este medidor, pero lo que sí sé es que con aplastar un botón lo pueden desconectar inmediatamente y quedarse sin electricidad.
I set up a solar system for a customer
Yo puse un sistema solar para un cliente
3 years ago.
3 años atrás.
The day I switched it on,
Del día que cambié el sistema,
the next morning 2 men showed up at their house.
al siguiente día
from the-
2 hombres
from the
asomaron
electric company.
a su casa y
And
eran de la
said,
compañía.
we would like to take a look around. There's been a large decrease in your power consumption.
Porque decían que querían chequear qué es lo que pasaba porque hubo un decaimiento del consumo de ellos que no estaba correcto de acuerdo a la compañía.
And she says, you don't need to look around my house. They got out of the truck and they kind of walked to the corner. And he said, oh, who put he pulled a pen and paper out. He says, who did the solar panels?
Entonces la dueña de la casa le dijo, yo no tienes que entrar a mi propiedad porque yo desconecté y entonces
And she said,
el
we
tipo de la
did.
compañía dijo, ¿quién puso el sistema solar? Estaba listo para tomar notas, pero ella dijo, yo lo hice.
And they kept pressing her for a name. They wanted to know who done
Y
it,
le
what
querían
company.
empujar para que diera el nombre de la compañía o la persona que había puesto el sistema solar.
So don't, and I've had 2 customers this has happened to.
Y
So
ya
don't tell
pasó.
me they're not watching.
Y yo tengo 2 clientes que
They're
les pasó lo
monitoring.
mismo, o no me digan que ellos no están chequeándonos,
Because they'd seen a decrease in power consumption
porque
at that property.
vieron una caída del consumo.
Yo tengo un primo que trabaja haciendo conexiones eléctricas en las construcciones.
I have a cousin that does installations and electric installations and
Y entonces yo le
constructions.
pregunté que qué tan cierto era que pusiéramos paneles solares
So,
en la ciudad
I-
ahora,
I
porque
asked-
como estaban empujando a mis padres,
I asked him, what was again the U.S.?
que qué tan cierto, lo que quería decir era que le estaban empujando a mis padres a que pusieran paneles solares, pero él me dijo que no porque si se ponía paneles solares a la casa por su propia cuenta y no por las compañías que estaban poniendo, la compañía eléctrica podría demandarte y hacerte quitarte los paneles solares.
Okay, what she's saying is, I asked my cousin that works in the electric field, because of the situation of my parents that they were pushing them, so we thought maybe we can install it for them and put ourselves the system, and he says don't do that because the electric company can sue you and make you pull those panels out.
Yeah.
If you don't do it through the
If you don't do it through the
Yeah.
companies that are supposed to be
Yeah.
certified to do that.
The state of Tennessee will still allow you, the homeowner themselves, to build their own solar
El
system.
estado de Tennessee todavía está permitiendo que los dueños de las propiedades instalen sus sistemas
But you have to
solares.
get, if it's going to be grid tie, you have to go buy their permits.
Pero si va a estar conectado al sistema, tiene que sacar permisos con ellos.
They have to have a schematic on the system,
Tiene que tener los esquemáticos del sistema.
and then it has to be a NABCEP certified installer
Y tiene que
and an
estar
electrician involved.
certificado como electricista y como otro grado de experiencia para hacer esas cosas.
So anyway, we've kind of turned into, we went away from solar class here a little
So,
bit to
básicamente nos
conspiracy.
fuimos a otra clase que no es sistema solar. Estamos hablando de otras cosas.
When you have a positive in your bank of excess of storage, you sell that back to the state or?
Cuando uno tiene en su
Not
banco
anymore.
de energía exceso, ¿usted puede venderlo de vuelta al
You could,
Estado?
right?
Well, no. It's according to where you're at. Now, I hear
La
that there
respuesta es
is
no.
private utility companies and stuff around, I say private, in the local areas, that will still allow that. Now, there is people that are selling back to the grid now, but they had contracts back when TVA and the federal government offered them. They purchased those contracts.
Uno no puede vender la energía del sistema solar así tan fácil. Hay compañías privadas que hacen eso, pero para uno vender así tiene que estar afiliado a una de estas situaciones, de estas compañías o algo así.
So a lot of folks still hear, they hear so-and-so over here says, yeah, I sell back to the grid, and they think that they can go and sell back to the
Muchos
grid.
creen porque escuchan que uno vende la energía de vuelta al sistema, pero no es así fácil como uno cree.
But now certain states, certain areas may still be offering that. Here they're not.
Algunas áreas ofrecen eso, pero aquí en esta área no es esa
And
situación.
here's the thing: if you're grid tying, you're basically you're in contract together.
Sí, aquí
with
la
them.
situación, si usted está conectado al sistema, básicamente usted
I don't
está
recommend it.
enganchado ahí, no puede salirse de eso.
Build your own system, maintain your own system, and
Lo ideal es construya su propio sistema y mantenga su sistema usted mismo. So let's go back to panels. Solar panels.
okay. Any questions?
Yes.
¿Alguna pregunta?
Cost for system for an average home, I guess a 3-bedroom home in the country.
What monthly
Mas-
utility bill?
Más o menos cuánto costaría para una casa de 3 cuartos un sistema solar.
Well, the guy.
It's hard.
The guy you said the other that was doing the system with about 17 kilowatt hours. I think that's.
Son más o menos para 17,000 kilovatios.
Around the 20 kW, you're looking in the 28 to 30,000 range.
Alrededor
for 20
de
kW.
20,000 kilovatios de consumo, usted está más o menos, tiene que presupuestar unos, how much you said? 30?
About 28 to 30,000.
The-
That would be with a power. That would be with 10 kW, 10 kilowatts of lithium battery.
Más o menos le saldría por unos 28,000 a 30,000 dólares.
10 kilowatt.
Yeah. Is that?
According to your efficiency, that 10 kilowatts of battery, if you're a very conservative home, you could probably get through a couple of days.
Con baterías de 10,000
with that.
kilovatios, si usted es bien conservativo, podría.
You really need more, but that's a system that would start you off. That would get
Pero
you
más o
going.
menos eso le.
The cool thing about the lithium batteries is you can build the system today and add a new battery in a year, add another battery in 3 years. It doesn't affect anything.
Las baterías de litio son las mejores que puede usarse ahora para los sistemas solares porque uno puede añadirlas, puede tener cierta cantidad ahora y añadir otras más después, pero
If you're using lead acid or gel or
si utilizas
AGM,
baterías
glass
de
mat battery,
ácidos o de gelatina,
you're 48 volts, so if it's 6 volts, you got to add 8 batteries at a time. 12 volts, you got to add 4 at a time. You got to add banks. And you can do it. It's not a problem to do it, but you don't want to mix used batteries together.
la
Where with
situación es-
lithiums,
la situación es que
just
no
add
puede
them as you
mezclar
want
baterías en un sistema. Si utiliza las de litio, mejor se mantenga así porque las otras de ácido o de gel, para aumentar, por ejemplo, a 48 voltios, tiene que poner cierta cantidad de baterías de 6 voltios y mantenerlas es más complicado.
So 20 to 30,000, maybe some people can do if they have a bunch of savings, but maybe some people need to finance or they're financing options.
I don't do any, as far as, but there is, if you've got a credit line and all that, I have had people go to the bank and borrow
Para,
on a signature loan.
para
or
financiar un
something.
sistema de unos 28 o 30 mil dólares, le está explicando que hay ciertos bancos que ofrecen préstamos para ese tipo de operaciones.
Y también si consideras, bueno, okay, ¿cuánto pagas en electricidad en tu casa? Como 150. Pues, agarras esos 150 y lo aplicas a un pago y no me tienes el 150. Ahora estás comprando tu sistema y estás pagando. I was just saying that if you have like $150 energy bill, you can consider that as your...
I don't see the winning situation if you have to,
Yeah.
make a loan.
Yeah, and I know that's what one couple did, is they figured their bill and they went to the bank and talked to the loan officer, small town here, probably talked to the bank president and said, look, we've got credit with you. And he came back and said, here's a check, order our system. We got a loan. And so he financed the system. And I had to give him the serial numbers and all that stuff on the stuff, and he took it in. So they probably laid hands on the equipment for collateral, Plus, I don't know if he put a pickup truck or a piece of land or something up for hock or whatever, but he spent about $35,000 on a solar system.
But Rick, don't you think that $30,000 investment on the solar system at once is like a high investment on it? That is, sometimes you're paying $170 a month, but suddenly now you have a debt of $30,000.
If I look at it from the world view, I just stay on the grid. It's cheaper. I ain't gonna recoup that investment in this world. But if I look at it from
But can you
not a Christian point of view,
can you be more
but
conservative? Do you need such a huge? I mean, I think the main thing is just minimize consumption.
I'm functioning here on the church building. We've got 15 panels, inverter charge controller, single inverter, single charge controller, 8 bank of batteries. They're lead acids. I'm fixing to go lithium. I could build that system and install it for someone with lead acid batteries for probably $14,000.
14,000.
And how many kilowatts is it?
Huh?
How many kilowatts?
15, I think 15.
I've only got battery bank wise. I'm at about 6 kilowatts at max on the best day. The system would be the inverter is a 4.4 kW. I've got about 3,800 watts a panel there, 3.8.
And
It's
if it was lithium batteries, how much more would it be?
you'd add to match that battery bank. You'd need two lithiums. You need it, so it would add about $6,000 to it. So you'd be up in the 17,000, 18,000 range.
Okay.
But I don't
For
know.
lithium.
I think
Well,
also-
you'd take 1,800 out of the lead acid. So yeah, you'd be in that 16 range, 17.
16 or 17.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good.
And also I think if you go solar, it'll be wise to start changing the regular lights for LED lights and stuff like that.
Yeah, you need to get everything high efficiency. Now that system that we're using here, it's 4.4 kW. It's got an 8.8 surge. That's not a big inverter. If you've got a heat pump that kicks on and then somebody fires up an oven or something like that in the house at the same time, it's going to shut it down. Yeah, you're going to be going over there and resetting.
Que él está diciendo que estábamos hablando acerca del el costo de poner un sistema así, más o menos de $30,000, pero por ejemplo el de él dice que podría hacerlo por $14,000, pero no es el bateaje que él está produciendo no es tan alto, pero que la mitad más o menos exacto, pero que la situación es que si usted va a poner un sistema solar, hay que comenzar a cambiar todos los aparatos por aparatos más eficientes. Por ejemplo, cambiar las luces normales por LED y cosas por el estilo. Y que el problema es que si uno prende un aparato que consume mucho, como por ejemplo un calentador, y por ahí alguien prende el horno, entonces el sistema se va abajo porque es demasiado consumo al mismo tiempo. So, hay que considerar muchas cosas.
¿Cuánto valen las baterías de litio?
She's wondering how much more or less a lithium battery will cost.
I think I can answer her question for that.
Yeah, answer that question.
So, ese sistema usa las de ácido y entonces está 14,000. Y digo que para cambiar las pruebas a lithium, si lo haces originalmente, ¿verdad? Entonces no pagas por las de ácido, pones las de lithium, sería aproximadamente el sistema nuevo $2,000 más. En vez de 14,000, como 16,000 o 17 máximo, puedes poner las de lithium, que sí son baterías. Dura más, menos mantenimiento.
Es que yo tengo en mi casa un sistema solar muy chiquito, pero tengo de baterías de ácido.
So,
Y las quiero cambiar a las de litio.
so the reason why she asks is because she has a solar system in her house, but it's a small system, but she has an acid batteries, so she's thinking to switch to lithium batteries.
Okay. How many batteries does she have now, and does she know the size of them?
¿Cuántas baterías tiene más o menos? Y si conoce el
Tengo como 6.
como 6 baterías de 12 o de 6?
Tengo como 8.
Around 8 batteries. I assume 6 volts battery.
8 6-volt batteries.
Yeah.
How
Make
big?
¿Qué tan grandes
Are
son
they
las
the
baterías?
tall ones, or are they
Pequeñitas.
about that tall?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just a golf cart type battery, or they're like a Crown CR235. One lithium battery, one 5.1 kW battery will equal that battery bank. One battery.
Una batería reemplaza todas esas.
Esas 8.
Does she know the type of inverter that she has?
Más o menos con lo que es.
Hermana, ¿usted sabe más o menos el invertidor, qué tipo de invertidor que está usando en el sistema?
Creo que es como este.
She thinks it's like that one over there. You have an inverter over there?
That brand?
Sí.
Yeah.
Okay, that's called a must. That's China. It's a little Chinese inverter. They're actually decent, but then they're much less expensive. But I can't lay trust in them. They don't have enough track record to really know. Okay, so I was just trying to get an idea, because certain lithium batteries will not work with certain inverters. You have to have different software, there's different programming. There's some that absolutely like.
Tengo que cambiar todo.
Depende.
Tiene que chequear el invertidor si acepta baterías de lithium, porque no todos los invertidores aceptan baterías de lithium. Tiene que ser una que acepte lithium batteries.
Si busca el modelo exacto, le puede dar la información a él y él lo puede buscar y decir que sí o no se puede. I said that if she got the model number, maybe she could provide that info to you and you could tell her.
Yeah, because you have to find a lithium battery that will work with that inverter and charge controller. And I guess I don't know all the ins and outs, but some of the BSMs are different. Some of them you have to, there's no BSM on the battery that will work with it. You have to get separate, program it separately and everything, and it's kind of, and it can turn into a headache with some of these inverters.
Yeah, so la batería trae una computadora para controlarla y cargarla, que se apague y se prende la carga y monitorearla. Y entonces esa computadora que trae la batería tiene que comunicarse con la computadora del invertidor y si no son compatibles, no se puede haber problemas. Por eso hay que checar la compatibilidad de la batería y el invertidor. Y comprar una batería litio que tiene la programación de la computadora que se comunique bien con ese invertidor, porque si no hay que cambiar el invertidor también. Pero then, just for information, I guess, so the one lithium battery, if she was just looking to buy that, assuming it would work with her inverter, what would that run her?
If she's got that inverter, there's a Chinese battery that's called a 4GLL, and it's a LiPo battery that works right with those, and you can find those for around $2,100 for a 5.1 kW.
Wow. Got it.
How much?
2,100.
Around 20. Sometimes you can find them. If you find somebody that has them, I'm paying more for them. I've got a couple of them here that I've not installed. I'm actually going to put those on the church building. But I'm up to about $2,600 on them because the source, because they're hard to get. Everything from China is hard to get now. Now the Fortress, I believe the Fortress has one that will work with those inverters, and Arc has one that will work with those inverters. But now they're a little more money, but they have a better track record. They have a good warranty. That 4GLL, I don't know. Everything is leaning towards they're a good quality battery, but they've not been out there long enough, and I'm not going to stand and tell you that they will stand up for 10, 15 years. They should, but it's the same chemistry, a lot of the same components. They should, if everything's been done right.
Question, if let's say you're building out in the country, off-grid, and you want to minimize the solar system use, does it make sense to get as many appliances as possible gas operated?
Well,
your air conditioning, whatever.
yeah, if you want to, the same thing. We're dealing with petroleum. Propane. Propane is it comes off petroleum fuel. It's drip gas. That's something that you're going to have to store, and that's what we're doing here at the church building. I used to tell everybody that, but now the more and more I see, we need to be breaking away from the world more and more. That's something we're going to be having to have that tank filled, and then during the little time of trouble, when once no buy, no sell, we're stuck.
You can also start with a small system and have these gas appliances, and then increase it, right, and start changing over.
If you can increase the system so far, these Magnum inverters, you can keep expanding. Now you're stuck with the inverter. You're stuck to 4.4 kW unless you want to stack one, and you can stack up to 5 of them. So that's an expandable system. These inverters are expandable. I've never done an expanded system on one, but they are expandable. The one that I've used the most is the Solarc, and it's a 12 kW. I mean, it'll power most any house and do most anything that you want to do if you've got the battery bank and the panels to go behind it. And it's 2 MPPT charge controllers combined. It's a hybrid. It is grid tied, but it's also a standalone. It has 2 built-in charge controllers that will handle, in most cases, like these panels here, it'll handle up to 40 of them. So it's really worth its money. It's about $7,000 for that inverter. But if you're going to buy 2 Magnums and 2 or 3 charge controllers, you might as well just get the bigger unit. Pay $7,000 because you're going to be at that. By the time you get routing, electronics to go with that, the routers and everything to go with it, to stack them and all that, you're going to be at $6,000 or $7,000 anyway, and a whole bunch of extra copper putting it all together. But yes, you want to make sure if you're buying a system and you're ever having a thought of expanding it, make sure that it's a system that can be expanded. And don't let anybody talk you into anything less than 48 volt system on a home anyway, on a whole home or a garage or something. Stay 48 volts. There's some guys still running around here trying to sell off the last of this 24 volt stuff. 24, I say the last of it, it'll always be around. There's a place for it. On a storage trailer or something like that, or a work trailer, say that you go out to construction sites and stuff, it's perfect to have a 24 volt or maybe even a 12 volt system that can charge off of the truck. But in a whole home system, every time you double voltage, when you go from 12 volt to a 24 volt battery bank, just from rewiring it to 24 volt, you doubled your efficiency and you doubled your watt capacity. Then you go from 24 to 48, you doubled it again. So 48 is the most expensive, most efficient, expensive. Sorry, wrong word.
Like
You keep up with all that?
Yeah, my people have left.
Oh.
I ended with only one.
Okay.
Rick, maybe you want to tell them about location
Location
for the panels.
for the panels. You need a southward.
Criticals, yeah.
You need a southern facing view. I find in this part of the country, in this region, that a little bit west, just off south a little, 190 degrees or so, seems to produce better. You've got to have a clear view. You can do it by eye. You can walk around and look and stand and look at shadows and look at different times of the day and figure out what's a good area, or, well, I'm going to have to take these trees, or, I need to stay away from this building. But south-facing view, it's got to be open, and you need to figure out from wintertime to summertime where the sun's going to be, and you need a clear view. It's not saying that sometimes you're going to have shadows, and you just figure out whether you can deal with it. A lot of times folks ask about tracking systems, because there is mounts that you can mount all your panels, and they will track the sun. They'll follow the sun. It's cheaper to just add another string of panels. And it's no moving parts. It's going to have to be maintenance. Just add 3 or 4 more panels, and you've covered what that thing will pick up by tracking.
If you don't mind, I can add something else on location. For the ones that live in the city and they plan to put a solar panel, not even in the city, but the ones that require insurance in the houses. Most of the houses require insurance. It's wise to check with your insurance first, because if you put something on the roof and suddenly the roof starts leaking or whatever, if it's the reason they leak because they put the solar panels on the roof, the insurance won't cover the damage anymore, because you are altering the...
And ground mount is the ultimate, because you can clean it.
That too.
It's snow load. When you get snow, when it covers those panels up during the night hours, you got an insulation blanket on your panels, and for 2 or 3 days, and if it's up on the roof, well, guess what? What are you going to do? I mean, you can take the chance. You can get equipment and all that, and try to clean them off and everything. But now should be mentioned in cities and stuff like that. I build solar systems in the cities for people that don't care, but I hope everybody here cares and they're trying to get out of the city.
Yeah.
But you want to minimize your risk. If you're living off-grid on the homestead, you're probably going to be further from hospitals and doctors. And no buy, no sell. Think about this, we're not going to be using the doctors and staying Sabbath keepers. That's, I mean, think about it. We need to know how to take care of ourselves. We need to minimize the risks. Do we need to be climbing up on that ladder, cleaning that roof off? No, we need to be able to walk out there on the ground and take less chances with our lives and safety and injuries.
¿Qué tal uno construir bueno, si uno, ¿cómo se dice? Contrata a alguien para que le construya un panel solar, construirlo sobre una armazón metálica en el piso,
And that's
en el ground, en el
No,
piso.
ni se tiene que hacer en metal, lo puedes hacer de madera.
O de madera, no, sí, pero que es factible, funciona.
she's asking, what's if you hire somebody to do a solar system for the panels itself, if it's feasible to do on the ground area with a metal structure or wood structure, like you say, so it doesn't have to be metal itself. How feasible
Not
it
do
is.
it on top of the ceiling.
I have built systems off of posts, and it works. It's not the most pretty thing, and wood is going to move. So in a year or so, you'll go out and look, and your panel array will be sagging or tweaking a little bit or something because the wood moved. It's no huge deal. They're maintenance. What you really have to watch for, even in this treated wood, is where you put the screws in and mount the panels. If you mount them directly to the wood, I built frames and mounted them directly to the wood. When you use the mounting, you have to check on those screws every year or so because they'll get loose. And if they get loose and they get some vibration and a tornado or a really bad storm and wind gets close, it can jerk a panel loose. I've never had it jerk one loose. Now I've come up, I mount them down that way, and then I go on the inside, I go by the galvanized L brackets, and I put them underneath on the inside too to help eliminate that. But yes, it's possible. That's the cheapest way. Well, I take it back.
The way that in case if we are in a place that we have snow, the way that we don't need to climb
That's what
Yeah.
he
the
said.
ceiling.
Yeah.
But that's what
Do
he
ground
said,
mounts.
that
Yeah.
you don't want to risk yourself going on the roof and do cleaning because if you can't go to the doctor, you're far away, or
Yeah.
you don't.
You need to
don't wanna risk
minimize the chance for injuries and stuff like that. And make things as user friendly as possible. You got enough to do on the homestead without, minimize tasks. Make things to where they kind of take care of themselves as much as possible. Less maintenance.
Rick, how good will it be to mix wind turbines?
You can do it.
Solar
I don't fool with it much because this part of the country there's really not enough wind.
True.
See, like the little breeze we're getting now,
That will move the. Yeah.
you're not going to get anything.
There is another option, and I've had some friends do this. They have a running stream.
Hydro, yeah,
You do hydroelectric turbines.
yeah.
Which aren't very expensive. You can find some pretty low-cost ones
Yeah.
and do a system like that.
Yeah, you can do hydro. If you've got running water, you can do hydro. Hydro and wind are moving parts.
The way that
You're going to
the
require
Mennonites
maintenance.
did it, right?
Huh?
The way that Mennonitas did with
The water.
the water.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's
The water,
there's options there you can do. I don't fool with a lot of it here. I do have a creek down here that would turn a small water wheel. In fact, we thought about designing something. Marcus that y'all met yesterday, I've kind of not talked about it anymore, but he's been just dying to come up here with me and build a water wheel to go in that little creek down there. So, and one of these days maybe, if I have time, but water wheels, hydro is great. Again, it is moving parts. There's maintenance, more maintenance required. Solar panels just hang out there and is,
Ready to go.
Well, you gotta clean them.
You forgot about just clean it. No,
yeah.
nah.
Yeah, well, and I say as far as cleaning, I've never cleaned a panel here.
Because you don't have
The glass,
snow.
the finish that's on that glass, it doesn't get really dirty. It cleans itself, but snow was what I was talking about, cleaning them. I've never had any issue with having to wash the panels. They kind of maintain themselves in that manner. The finish that's on the glass is just amazing. I'm amazed at how well it self cleans. But snow was what I was talking about for cleaning. That's the only real maintenance you have of the panels. The battery bank, yes, you'll have maintenance there, but everything else is just with hydro or wind power, you have
Bearings,
regular
bushings.
periods of maintenance. Yeah, so it's a constant. You want to make sure whatever hydro unit or whatever wind turbine you're using, put yourself up parts, wire parts, get yourself some extra parts put away so that you can maintain it. But it is a good option, and there's ways. I use the Midnight Classic charge controllers, and there's ways they're real friendly to using wind and hydro. They have, most all of your charge controllers do have the options on it to use multiple sources of green energy.
True.